We are live. How are you doing, my love?
I'm all right. I'm good. Surprisingly good for lockdown living.
You look very glamorous for lockdown living. That's true. It's funny because when we're normally, you don't always see yourselves. Like I met Chantal, you know, because she's a chef, and I was like, I don't think I've ever seen your hair, because Chantal is wearing kind of a chef's cap. So it's quite unique how you see people. But Malin, thank you so much for joining me, because I wanted to talk to you because let me give you a little bit of an introduction for everybody who's watching. So Malin is ahead. Malin, you need to move yourself a bit more into the center of your screen, because you're right the other way. There you go. I want to see all of your beautiful hair. Malin is head of philanthropy for the Microloan Foundation, and I'm the chair of the Women's Development Board, which I would just like to point out that Malin forced me and completely conned me into becoming chair of this. I say this every time, but it is very true. And you know, we've done a lot of work in helping Microloan over the last, well, Malin does so much more than I've ever done, in fact, because you're head of philanthropy. Can you just tell us a little bit about what Microloan does?
Sure. So Microloan is a women's empowerment and poverty alleviation organization, and the bare bones of what we do is basically help some of the very poorest women in sub-Saharan Africa to start up their own small income generating activities. So tiny businesses that basically means that they can make a living and they can feed their families, send their kids to school. They can afford going to the doctor if anyone in the family falls ill, you know, providing the very, very basic necessities. And we do it through financial literacy training and entrepreneurship training, as well as small loans that basically give them the startup capital they need to get going. And, you know, it's about empowering the women to make a difference for themselves.
So the reason I got involved in this, other than having the fact that I was halfway down a bottle of champagne when Malin said, you should really come and be chair of this. And I really was halfway down a bottle of champagne on a beach, I'd have everyone know, when Malin conned me into this. But I grew up in Malawi, and I'm from Malawi, and I know what it's like to be a woman in these scenarios, and to know that it's incredibly hard. And we had Malawi is so incredibly poor, and that we had so many problems where you had very young children being brought up by their grandmothers who were barely past 40, you know, and AIDS decimated a lot of Malawi, and then flooding decimates. And it's a country where we grow crops, and that's how we make our food. And then if your crops don't grow, you're screwed, basically. So what Microloan does, which Malin's just said, to paraphrase, is we help we help women to set up their own businesses. So Microloan makes them micro loans, mini loans, to help them set up their own businesses, and then does this fantastic thing where they teach them how to run a business, and it's utterly amazing. And if you want to, you can go on Microloan's site, and they will show you pictures and images about how they do this. And the women learn through song, which is absolutely phenomenal. I wish somebody had told me how to run my bloody business using song instead of smacking me across the head every time I got it wrong. I'm like, just all of you women and entrepreneurs out there, just imagine if someone taught you how to run your business by singing. I mean, like, wow, that would be fantastic. And then the women go into kind of groups and communities, little groups, and they help each other within that group, because they choose who goes into their groups. Now, the thing that's really interesting about Microloan and microloans is that the average loan sizes are so minute. They're from 25 to about £50, and that helps somebody to completely transform their life, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, most of the women, when they start off, they take out a tiny loan. And I mean, before they even get access to the loan, because the loan is such a small part of the whole livelihoods program, because without that training and that ongoing mentoring and that support, they would never make it. You know, these women are surviving on £1 a day. If you would come and give them a loan of £20, they would obviously spend that on feeding their family and, you know, providing the really basic necessities. So in a strange kind of way, we're trying to stop them from spending the money on food. Instead, we're trying to make sure that they make a long-term investment into their small business so that they can change things for the longer term. And the women come back over and over again. It doesn't mean they start off with one small loan and that initial training, but they come back over and over again. We've got women who's been with us for 15 years because they just want to grow their businesses, and they've turned into super entrepreneurs who have got 10 staff members running 3 different businesses. They own little properties. They have got fishing boats. They're running a market stall selling tomatoes. It's this brilliance in terms of how they are making a change for themselves and also providing employment opportunities.
But also, just to be clear, so the women pay back that loan and then they take out another one. So the loan repayment rate was actually around 98, 99%, wasn't it? Till the floods in Malawi.
Yeah, 99% actually in 2018.
Which bears out the statistics about how women are a better credit rating risk than men are.
Yeah, not just in Africa, may I add.
No, exactly. That's like a kind of global thing. But so what's happened with coronavirus? Because, the world came to a halt, and so what happens now?
I mean, it always takes longer for pandemics to reach Africa, first of all, because it is less interconnected with the rest of the world than other regions. So it has taken longer for the virus to actually arrive. But then, now that it has arrived, because the health care system and the testing capabilities are just not there, it's very, very difficult to know what the actual spread is. But in all honesty, for the communities that we work in, just as great a threat as the coronavirus is the risk of famine.
The consequences of lockdown are so much worse than actually almost coronavirus, because when you get into places like third world countries, and this is as true in India as it is in all parts of Africa and some parts of even Eastern Europe and Middle America, the results of coronavirus lockdown is starvation, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and there's several reasons for that. Obviously, it's the things that you would have that are the same for even for developed communities in terms of supply chain and access to, general access. The problem is that a country like Malawi that relies on maize as the staple food, the timing is exceptionally bad because right now, mid-April is harvest season. And Malawi hasn't gone down it's not on lockdown yet, so the women can still harvest. And obviously these small businesses that the women run, and a lot of them are subsistence farmers as well, it's so crucial that they can run their businesses for the survival of not just themselves and their family, but for the wider community. Because without them being able to harvest and run their small, often food or agricultural businesses, it will be devastating very quickly,
Yeah, it's not something that takes days. It's literally almost overnight, because if you don't have that money coming in, I mean that's the same everywhere, but there is just a place where it's almost instant. The thing I find really interesting about lockdown is that every time I turn around, I see another person's business that is affected by this. But I never thought until you and I spoke about charities. I sort of hadn't quite got my head there. And then I spoke to you, and you were giving me some horrendous statistics about how much what is it, 65 million pounds that people invest in charities across the United Kingdom.
So that is just, at the moment, we're running an appeal as part of a wider national appeal to save the UK charity sector, which is called 2.6. And this is basically run by the London Marathon. So just the London Marathon, which has had to be postponed, potentially cancelled due to the coronavirus, raises £67 million for charities a year.
Just the marathon.
The marathon, and there are a few other events that they run alongside that. But it is absolutely a massive blow for the charity sector. And that's just one of the charity sector events.
So what happens now? Talk to me about this, the challenge, because you were saying that in the challenge, it's something about the 2.6.
Yes. So basically, what they've worked out is that if 2.6 million people decide to take part in a small challenge or support a small challenge, which isn't the London Marathon, you know, it can be anything. And we've got loads, I'll give you some super lovely examples in a bit. But if they all donate £26, we'll be there. You know, then we will have reached that. We're coming towards the target, what the charities need to get through this crisis.
That's amazing. So and where do people find this 2.6?
So they can go to the Microloan website, and there's a page there in our event section on the homepage. So that's microloanfoundation.org.uk, and they can find it there. And basically, then there's also a big sort of national website, which is 2.6challenge.org.uk, I think. Don't quote me on that one. I'll say
Hunt 2.6. Yeah, because we were talking and Malin was like, so you need to do a challenge with 2.6. And I was just like, oh my God. Yeah, and your bright idea was eat 26 cupcakes. I was like, I don't think so. I really don't think so. But we have somebody on one of our committees is actually running 26 miles with her husband, and the baby in the pram, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
God.
Yeah.
But not really one go.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think they're doing it over a week or something like that. But I think it's such a nice challenge, you know. I've got another someone else who is actually got her husband and her 2 kids, and herself. So the whole family are doing 26 burpees, 26 sit-ups, 26 push-ups a day for 10 days in a row. She's told me how this has panned out. Yeah, I mean, the drill sergeant,
her husband came out.
They're virtually almost like throwing up in the pitches out of exhaustion, the kids being absolutely irate, you know. But yeah, they're doing it, and I like it.
I love that. I want you all, whoever's watching and listening, I want you to give us suggestions on what you think would be a fantastic challenge idea for this, because I need to find one and I haven't picked one. But don't feel free to suggest any for me. You know, suggest some for you guys, and then any of the really good ideas, we'll see if we can farm them out, because I think that's such a great idea. I like the exercise one. I'm trying to think of something I can do with the kids.
Yeah. I've got another friend who her aim is to cycle 26 kilometers in 1 hour, because she wants to stick within the sort of government restrictions on only being out for an hour to exercise. She's cycling. Yeah. And she has fallen over. She was almost run over by a truck. I'm like, really? You may want to choose a different route.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, how do you get to when there's no traffic?
It's really, but yeah, she's doing amazingly, actually. I think she came up to 22.8 kilometers in an hour yesterday. Very impressive.
You can cycle that long in an hour? That much in an hour?
Apparently, some people can.
That's insane. Oh my God. Yeah, you should do one of those ones where you're in the gym and then cycling. But that's amazing. So how much of that does Microloan get? How do you get, how do the charities allocate that money then?
So the way that we do it is basically, so when you go on to the Microloan website, you basically just pick Microloan when you select which charities to support. Okay. So you everything that you raise, you will know where that goes, and you'll find out exactly how the difference that the money that you raise will make. That's
so cool.
But what's super nice as well is the fact that because there's this wider national challenge, there's also going to be a pot of money that will go wherever people kind of want it to do, and it will be allocated based on the percentage of funds that each charity raises. So you're going to get almost like a little bonus to the funds that already have been raised, which is amazing, you know.
That's so cool. I think that, yeah, because I mean, honestly, when what I liked about this and why I wanted to talk to you today as well is that when we sit here in lockdown, it becomes very much about ourselves. It becomes all about us and how we feel. And, you know, because it is a really rough period. It is a very hard thing for people to go through. But it's also good, I think, to know that there are other people that are struggling who aren't sick, but they are struggling just because they can't afford to not work. And I mean, yes, there are people like that in this country, and there are people like that across the world. And, you know, whatever your charity happens to be that you want to support, please feel free to do that. With us, it's Microloan, just because with every woman in Microloan that we support, there are the equivalent of 4 children being supported at the same time. So it becomes a family within each support. And I think, you know, that's a lot of bang for your buck. And it's a charity, obviously, that I care about. So that's, I wanted to give a platform to highlight that.
Yeah, yeah. And it's also the fact that the loans are being repaid, and obviously we spend the funds on the training and support, which costs money to deliver, but at least the money that does go into loan capital, that's being repaid, and that helps another woman, another 4 kids, you know, and it's like a multiplier effect, which is amazing.
And honestly, 25 quid a day, you're not buying a Starbucks at the moment, and you're not buying, though you can't, so that coffee that you would have spent for, you know, just over a week, and you could change someone's life. So that is a really fantastic way, I think, to look at it. So thank you very much, my love. I'm really grateful. Was there anything that you wanted to finish with?
I think that's it. I just want to, for those, if there's anyone who's listening who's actually doing the challenge at the moment, I just want to say a big thank you, because it's very much fun to hear all the stories, and the feedback that we're getting is absolutely phenomenal. And if you want to join, you know, you can contact me on Facebook, or you can get in touch with the charity directly, however you choose. We'd love to hear from you, and please bring the ideas. We love them.
Yeah, definitely. Please put ideas at the bottom of what would be a really fun way to do, what sort of challenge to do to raise money, right? I think that would be a really interesting. I'd love, because people are so inventive, and I love the ideas, and I'm sort of sitting there thinking, I can't think of anything because I'm boring, but it would be amazing to think of it, and then to have your idea picked up, and for someone to do it. So please do it. And this was Malin, the wonderful Malin, Rosenkvist. Malin, your name is just... Malin with the unpronounceable name, and thank you very much. And the charity is the Microloan Foundation, and it's microloanfoundation.org.uk.
Yeah,
so I'm just like kicking butt here. I'm like, I know these things. Have a wonderful evening, and I'm going to show up on that challenge page. I am indeed. Yeah. You don't look like you believe me, but I will. We just get ideas, and I will.
I will bully you into that, just like I bullied you into the chairmanship.
We have to leave now.